It's the second round of the fight. My heart is racing, but I'm feeling great. But in a flash, my opponent connects their best punch right here in my solar plexus. It's the kind of punch that paralyzes your diaphragm and it makes it hard to breathe. It's the kind of punch you really don't want in a boxing match because it makes you vulnerable to attack. It can be the beginning of the end. My name is Selma, and that's just one memory from my experience of stepping into the boxing ring. By day, I'm an international lawyer, but outside of this, I'm often training for my next fight. So given that many people don't like getting punched in the face, and that includes me, you may be wondering, why would I do this? Why would I risk turning up in court with bruised ribs or a black eye? Well, fortunately, unlike the movie Fight Club, the first rule of white-collar boxing is that it's okay to talk about white-collar boxing. So, what exactly is white-collar boxing? It's boxing for professionals that normally spend their day sat at a desk. And many join to get fitter, both physically and emotionally. My first experience of stepping into the white-collar boxing ring was 12 years ago, when I still lived in Hong Kong and was a happy-go-lucky young associate in a law firm. It's typically a 12-week intensive boxing training camp, and at the end of it, you get paired up with someone for a fight night. In the run-up to the event, you reach out to friends, family, colleagues, and clients for donations to your chosen charity. So at the end of the day, whether you win or lose, you still raise money for a great cause. I couldn't believe I won my first fight, and I couldn't believe I raised the most money for my chosen children's charity. Fast forward to 2024. I'm living in Manchester, and much has changed in my life. I'm no longer the happy-go-lucky young associate that stepped into the ring in 2012 in Hong Kong to get fitter. Have you ever seen those lists of the 5 most stressful life events? You know, things that start off with the death of a loved one, splitting up with a partner, moving countries and moving homes. Well, between 2019 and 2023, it felt like it was all happening to me at once. In early 2019, the guiding light of my life died. My father was my inspiration to be a lawyer. Shortly after the death of my father, the political unrest in Hong Kong gave me this eerie unease that my home city was on the verge of crumbling. Many young protesters and many of my friends were arrested and jailed. Soon after that, there was a smear campaign against me when I said yes to running for the Law Society Council elections. Because of constant threats and rumors of further arrests, it became clear to my mother, 94-year-old grandfather, and I, that we could no longer call Hong Kong our home, and we had no choice but to leave the people and place we loved. And when I arrived in Manchester, what did I do but get into the wrong relationship? But amidst all this chaos, I got a telephone call from White Collar Fighter, an organizer of white collar boxing events in the UK, and they asked if I would be interested in fighting at their next event in Manchester. Luckily, I remembered all the wonderful things from my first fight, and I said yes. Training was my go-to because I could spend time with the people that I trusted. The trust between my coach and I was phenomenal, to the point when, in preparation for my fight, he would, during some of the training sessions, make me hang from a bar at block, and he would punch me so hard in my core. But I was fine with that. I had such an amazing community of support through my friends and fellow boxers. I was able to let go, switch off, and be 100% focused in the moment. So what better way to show you the benefits of having something to focus on than a live demo? I'd now like to invite my coach, my amazing coach, Thomas Ferenc, up on stage. This is obviously not my usual attire for my training sessions, but you'll get the idea. Whew. Leaves me a bit breathless, but right. Oh. As my comeback fight drew closer, I was in great shape and I was well prepared. But my nerves went skyrocketing when I found out that my original opponent had dropped out. I was told my fight would be a title fight, and my new opponent was a stand-in paid fighter from Birmingham. The walkout was an unforgettable experience. Imagine flashing lights. It was iconic that my ring walk was, "The champ is here," which was picked by my coach. flashing lights, walking down the catwalk, your friends screaming on top of their voices. It really gets your heart racing. The fight started off well. I stuck to my game plan, but as Mike Tyson so wisely put it, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Well, in my case, it was my solar plexus, because this was the fight that I took the punch that I was telling you earlier on about. It's the punch that paralyzes your diaphragm and it makes it hard to breathe. But thankfully, with all those intense training sessions, I knew exactly what to do. So if you ever get punched in the solar plexus, you have to suck your breath in on impact so it protects your diaphragm and it avoids you buckling up. And you're able to continue as if no damage was done. What really got to me on fight night was the big, chunky, super uncomfortable head guards. They were drenched in sweat. They smelled awful, but we had no choice but to wear them. When you're in the ring, there's so much noise going around you, but you can't hear a single thing. It's like there's a wall of sound. But in the corner of my eye, I could see my coach circling his hands round and round, which was a sign for me to keep moving and tire my opponent out, and it worked. I was able to use my strongest and most powerful punch, which was an overhead right hand, and it nearly knocked my opponent out. At the end of the fight, we stood either side of the referee, waiting for the results. It was a good fight. It was a close fight. And when it came to announcing, and the winner of the title belt holder is Team Blue. I couldn't believe my eyes. I won the title belt. I was ecstatic. The opportunity to fight again in the undisputed belt fight came soon after that, and the training flowed from the last. But when I found out who my opponent was, it was really too late to back out. She was bigger. She was much taller. She was definitely more experienced and with a scarily long reach. I could do nothing, but I did the best I could. I won't lie, I really hated losing. But sometimes you win even when you lose. And the disappointment of my loss was made up when I found out I broke the record in the history of white-collar fighter events for raising the most money for charity. I've realized that somewhat ironically, boxing was my safe space. I felt safe because I could trust the people around me, and I had such an amazing community of support through friends and fellow boxers. When you're in the ring on fight night, there really is no time to be scared. That's the whole beauty of boxing. You just got to keep your guard up, defend yourself, and of course you're going to take those hits now and then, but that's how you improve. So whatever stressful event you're facing or whatever you may face in the future, I encourage you to stay open to the idea that sometimes the best way to deal with things is to take on a challenge. You'll get to know yourself better, you'll build the confidence, and you'll realize that you can deal with anything that life throws at you. So, boxing is my safe space, and I've discovered that. The question is, what's yours?